Well, most of the opposition parties represented in Parliament have now held a joint media briefing to outline their plans to say, as they say, they want to hold President Cyril Ramaphosa accountable over the Phala Phala scandal. Our reporter Mbali Thethani is there. Mbali, good afternoon to you. Almost all of the parliamentary opposition parties there, the DA and the Freedom Front Plus, they weren't there. Are they supporting this action?
That's certainly right, Stephen. Of course, we did hear from the EFF leader, Julius Malema, saying that despite us not seeing the DA and the FF+, they are also part of this action that opposition parties in Parliament will be taking to ensure that President Cyril Ramaphosa accounts for the Phala Phala farm issue. But it is good to note as well that parties like Good and Al-Jama also don't form part of this action. But you would know that the EFF has been for quite some time been alarmed with this issue when it comes to the Phala Phala farm, and they've even said, even in the past, that they will continue to ensure that President Cyril Ramaphosa does indeed account. So of course we did hear from these opposition parties represented in Parliament saying that they will then go ahead with their action, and of course the issues around the ad hoc committee being established, and also most importantly being that motion of no confidence. And you would remember, Stephen, that EFF even earlier on saying that they want an impeachment process and asking around whether how they will conduct this motion of no confidence when they don't really have the numbers. Well, they're saying that even though that they don't have the numbers when it comes to trying to get this motion of no confidence to be successful in Parliament, they will then continue to push ahead with this motion of no confidence. And you would remember that this is what they did even during the Zuma era, and eventually saying that when we continue to ask the question around them not having the numbers, even during the time of Zuma, they didn't have the numbers, but it was in the end when the ANC then came on board, when it came to the motion of no confidence, to of course then ask for the former President Jacob Zuma to step down from his position. But also quite striking and startling coming out from this press briefing is indeed the name of former President Thabo Mbeki also then being touted and saying that, as the media we continue to say that Arthur Fraser, who was then indeed responsible for reporting the matter on the Phala Phala farm issue, is tied to the likes of the RET faction within the ANC, and he has said that instead, and basically brought this allegation saying that the issues around Arthur Fraser is something that should be put on the doorstep of the former President Thabo Mbeki. So quite a startling revelation coming out from this press briefing when it comes to who indeed is really behind the Phala Phala farm issue.
What do they actually want President Ramaphosa to do? I mean, opposition parties in most democracies always want the current president or prime minister to resign. Is it as simple as that, or are they making a particular case against him?
Well, basically, Stephen, they're saying that President Cyril Ramaphosa needs to account because he has violated many laws of this country, and of course also bringing in the issue around declaring the amount of money that he had in his house, and also saying that just like what happened with Nkandla when that committee in Parliament was established, that they exactly want to know what went down at his Phala Phala farm when indeed these millions of dollars were indeed stolen from his home. So basically what we saw with Nkandla is something that they want the Parliament to also then push ahead with, and basically saying that they will then continue to also monitor the Speaker of Parliament, of course, Stephen. But at the same time, it is saying that he did indeed violate the laws of the country, and as the president, no one is above the law. And if it was anybody else, Stephen, these opposition parties saying that that person would have been behind bars by now.
Obviously, Mbali, this all puts pressure on the ANC in all sorts of ways ahead of its conference. Does what the opposition parties say, what the leaders say, their planned action, their protest outside the Public Protector's Office, for example, does any of that put pressure on the internal politics of the ANC in what is still a national leadership election year?
Well, Stephen, it is a quite interesting question to ask, and of course this is something that we've continued to put pressure on the ANC when it comes to some sort of action being taken by the party itself. And you'd know that President Cyril Ramaphosa has presented himself before the Integrity Commission, and you'd also remember that there were reports coming out saying that despite him presenting himself before the Integrity Commission, there are also reports saying that, well, he refused to answer questions when it comes to the Phala Phala farm issue. But you'd know that the ANC also then said that and squashed those reports, saying nothing of that nature did take place. And of course, it does happen at a very crucial time for President Cyril Ramaphosa when he's looking for a second term within the ANC. So it continues to be something that does really affect the ANC. And you'd also remember just a few weeks ago, just at the SACP conference, where President Cyril Ramaphosa saying that, well, he will not be deterred from doing his work and he will ensure that he abides and he remains accountable. So it is quite an interesting one to see if whether indeed Parliament will allow for the ad hoc committee to be established.
Mbali, Thethani, thanks very much indeed. Interesting developments there, intriguing developments in many ways from most of the opposition parties. Only